The backyard of a gritty legend is one of the great grassroots facilities in all of motorsports. Lee County Mud Motorsports Complex is where the best of the business come to test their mettle against the mud, through the hills and over the holes. These slop slingers are set to kick off a weekend of good old-fashioned muddy memories. The track, the myth, the legend that is Sanford, North Carolina's Lee County Mud Motorsports Complex welcomes the DOT classes to the Hill and Hole pit here on Daryl Jones's backyard property. This was a little earlier when they were prepping this 3-hole, 2-hill pit that will be getting hit here in mere moments, as I said, by the DOT classes. And what that means, we'll have big tire modified, we'll have small tire modified starting things off. And that means no cut tires. You have to run uncut DOT street approved tires. They got plenty of cleat on them, but there's also no power adders in this class, and the vehicles remain fairly close to stock compared to the unlimited class we'll be seeing tomorrow. So it's going to be all raw horsepower, although this is certainly not a stock vehicle. Weston Wiseman at the wheel of Wood Racing's Mudweiser, the 89 Jeep Wrangler. 4-link suspension, you see those massive king coilover shocks. Looks to have set a good early pace in a soupy pit to start off. 597 to open the class. You can see he dug out his own trail there. And this is about the thinnest this pit is probably going to be all weekend long, because the water and the clay have not mixed from all these guys going over top of it. It's gotten the groom mix and the track build mix, but you see that last hole is filled with soup right now. As it gets run on and as it gets groomed, more slop will be thrown onto the starting line and more slop will be thrown out past the finish line. It'll totally change the dynamic now as Dylan Creech rolls out the Johnston County Red Snake V6 power plant with a turbo on it. Well, he definitely mixed up the mud in 861. Not going to get to the top spot, but this is also a class where you'll see guys bogged down. So as long as you can clear the pit, you can get in the quick money. As you can see right there, putting the 6-cylinder to work right there. It's an interesting sounding vehicle when he's really got it pinned as he RPMs that motor and digs his way out of his pit. But you can see already how slick the finish line is going to be now as an awesome Jeep machine. AJ McCoy out of Wilmington, North Carolina in Fear This 383 cubic inch small block Chevy. Wanted to give a special thanks to Harry McCoy before he made his run here today. See what he's able to do again. The dynamic of the pit changes each and every run. Started in the ruts, but he got back into that thick stuff. He was in and out of the ruts and slowed him down, so he's going to go into third place with a 1070. The small tire modified class, you can see churning their way through. A lot of the guys in this class have opted for a single run here today. They have the option of a second pass, but you can see just going through. When he came off the starting line, he started in the ruts and then immediately came out of them, and that definitely seems to have hindered him just a bit en route to that finish line. Now, vehicle we're going to see for the second time, different driver. This is Eli Wood again. In the Wood Racing entry, the Mudweiser machine, record-capable vehicle. Belly flop in the last hole there as he got up in the air just a bit. See what the time is here as he 6:34, so definitely keeping the hammer down and the speed up. This machine kind of floating over the mud. He's kind of able to run where he wants. He got out of the ruts. It actually seemed to do him a favor, but he got a lot of hang time going into that last section there. And you could see the speed drop when he hit that the deep stuff there at the end now as Cody Hendrick rolls out of Louisa, Virginia with the Bluey Racing entry, square body machine. And he's going to get hung up immediately. Got the windshield wipers on, but never really needed them. And I have a feeling that truck is usually capable of getting a little further down through this pit, as the Slab City crew really has given us a good track here today for this action. I'm interested to see, and maybe we'll get another look at this run, but we'll only go 52 plus feet at the end of this session one, that he did not really get the drive off the starting line I know he was hoping for, as the crowd looks on here this afternoon. Great folks down here in Sanford, in the backwoods down here near Raleigh. When he came off line, I'm interested to see, was it pulling all the way through? He had front and rear wheel drive. It looks like the chassis just got hung up on the knoll in the middle that was created there between the ruts. Is a vehicle that should be able to clear the ruts in fine fashion here. Dustin Watkins in the leaf-sprung Houston Solutions machine out of Wallace, North Carolina. This is a pretty quick altered wheelbase Jeep that I'm interested to see how it fares against the coilover Jeep that we saw earlier on in the field. You see how deep that third hole is. That right there is why Eli Wood came to such a slowdown when he got in there. Unfortunately, trying to blaze his own trail today. Watkins not going to clear the pit. Billy Stevens and Ben Elder work to get him extricated from the pit. It'll be a 215-foot run for Dustin Watkins in the now brown Houston Solutions entry. They drag him out, and look at all the material that he's dragging back there with him, and it's getting dragged up onto the hills. Some of it's going to get pulled back onto the starting line, and what that will do is it will change the way these vehicles react to going over those hills, because there's now ruts forming there. What you see right here is it looks like he tried to start off to his left, and the Jeep got pulled down to the right into the deepest part of that first hole, and it really slowed his momentum. He was not able to get that nice flow that you want to kind of ski the pit, go out the other end. You need that speed when you get to the third hole, because as you can see, if you don't have the speed, you're going to bog down right there. And that's exactly what happened to Dustin Watkins. Now, Riley Kelly out of Wallace, North Carolina. Crazy Train, sponsored by BK's Performance and Automotive. And Bradley said his father drove all the way to Rushville, Illinois to pick up this truck for him. And his cousin and father-in-law are helping him with his vehicle since his father unfortunately passed away. But Bradley out here running in his dad's memory. Bogged down in the second right there. I'm sure we'll see him back later on tonight when we move over to the Hot Street pit on the other side of the track. We'll tell you about that on another edition of our coverage from here, but right now he will not clear the pit, and that will wrap up our class here with the small tire modified 135 plus feet. So Kelly not getting quite what he wants, and again, they're going to drag the pole through the pit between classes here, so they're going to flatten the top out. But what happens is underneath of that mud, those ruts still exist. So the hard stuff is going to kind of stay rutted, and the slop will fill in the harder, thicker stuff, and you will have these kind of invisible ruts through the pit as you go, as Weston Wiseman will wrap up the class with the victory. Ran first. Eli Wood in the same vehicle that Mudweiser entry ran twice, finished first and second. Dylan Creech in the Johnston County Red Snake, AJ McCoy, Dustin Watkins, and as you just saw, Briley Kelly rounding out the field. And of course, we can't forget Cody Kendrick, says the pit will get regroomed. We'll be back with more action from here at Lee County. Stay with us.
This presentation is brought to you by Monsters Monthly, your place for photos, videos, event info, and all the happenings in the monster truck industry. Visit monstersmonthly.com. And by Crush This. For a weekly look inside the wide world of monster trucks, check out Crush This, a monster truck podcast. Available on Facebook, Spotify, and YouTube.
This special presentation has been brought to you in part by Northwood Transfer for your freight and shipping needs.
This program is brought to you by RPM Army. For a wide array of content from across the motorsports world, visit rpmarmy.com. Your high-performance fix on the go.
Welcome back to Sanford, North Carolina. The Hill and Hole action continues. The big tire modified class ready to roll out. Again, our congratulations to Weston Wiseman for the victory in the small tire modified. Here's a run from right before we start this class. This is the only second pass that occurred in the small tire modified class. So, of course, being the Johnston County Red Snake of Dylan Creech, taking a second shot at it there. Not able to clear the pit, though. Again, you can see really getting mixed up. It's getting thick down in there. He was not able to improve upon his run from Session 1. But in the meantime, we're going to get underway with action in the Big Tire Modified. Here is a guy who could set a record here today, Trey Gugino. No Problem 3 out of Newport, North Carolina. This is a 1994 Jeep Wrangler built by his father, Gino Gugino. Very uncharacteristic ride for that team. He was all over that pit, pedaled it a bunch of times, and you can see the frustration as he throws the window net down. And you talk about a guy who will show you his feelings. He wears them on his sleeve. We've seen him in that same spot in the pit before with that same attitude, but when this thing gets a good set, he'll clear the pit. He was out of shape right off the starting line. Then he got in that blinding mud right there in the second hole, and then look at this. Caught the front end there. You can roll one over if you catch it a little bit faster. That 208-foot run in a machine that is well capable of absolutely dominating the class. So we'll see him back in Session 2, I can guarantee you. Now, Rich Lombardi, the AMC-powered Renegade, 401 cubic inch Barry Allen race engine in this one. And we're going to see this guy back for the hot street action a little bit later, but leaf-sprung truck should fly right through here. Going to try to set the pace early in the class since Gugino did not clear the pit. Flew through the last leg of the track. An awesome run for Rich Lombardi. Nothing to be ashamed of there. Those leaf springs working for him, those trucks. I'll tell you what's one of my favorite things about this type of racing is you get the coilover trucks with the soft suspension, then you get these guys that run the leaf springs, and they do deliver on the day. 6:34 with a 5 for Lombardi. That'll set the pace for the rest of the field. Up next, a legend in his own backyard, Billy Stevens. There you see his brother Johnny on the line with him. We'll see Johnny and Scooby tomorrow, and this is the first time we're getting a look at Billy running the DOT class. This is a vehicle capable of winning normally as a nitrous setup on it. Obviously, it's not on for this class, but he has taken that nitrous plumbing off altogether. He said he was sick of fighting fires every year, as we've seen this truck turn into a volcano more than once. But Daphne ready to go down the track right here in Sanford. Sliding at the end of the track. I told you that slop getting drawn out onto the hard ground was going to get interesting. A 596 will take over the number 1 spot. So still winning ride there. Potentially winning ride, I should say, for Billy Stevens. Came right through look at this thing float the pit. A lot of horsepower in this one. Front engine machine, and one of many that came out of this Darrell Jones camp. There are actually, I believe, 3 trucks here this weekend that came out of that camp now as the Carolina Reaper, Jeff Johnson, rolls out. Some of you may remember a little blue Ford called Aftermath. You know this guy's capable of getting the job done. To fight his way through 19-plus second run, but again, in a world where guys do bog down, you can get the money just clearing the pit. That's not what that truck is normally capable of, but again, he did clear the pit on the day, and Jeff Johnson should be back, I think, in session 2. We may see a little bit more out of him, but look at the wheel speed he was carrying. And you really got a good look at how fast that truck was capable of going once he actually got it to get a bite there. Rode the right side of the pit for all it was worth. You run the risk of getting a DQ doing that, but have to take that risk to do so. Now Aaron Elder, better half of this team. Family-owned Slab City crew out of Bristol, New Hampshire. There you see Ben Elder lining her up, and the Slab City crew taking care of all of the accommodations in the pit this weekend. Helping with the timing, equipment, the track building, along with Larry Corbiel. So a big thanks to those folks. See what Aaron can do here in Dad's Mistress. Chevy-powered Ford Ranger. See the bow tie on the grill. She waits to get the green. Another one of those Darrell Jones machines. Having to fight her way out of the pit there. 10:55. Not going to get in the number 1 spot, but laying down a shot here in the DOT big tire class. And again, you can see, gets in those ruts. And again, the pit is getting thicker and thicker every time they go through. Some guys like running mid-pack. Some guys like running early. When you run late in the pack, you're going to start picking up everybody's mix. Kind of turns into like a heavy cement-like mixture down at the bottom, especially with this heavy North Carolina clay. There's a little sand in there, and it's a mess if you get your tires stuck down in the bottom of that thing. You get on that slick stuff, and you can't get a bite, but they're still picking up dry dirt when they get down to the finish line, so that finish line hasn't been ruined just yet. Billy Stevens leading the pack out of session 1, just ahead of Rich Lombardi, so we got one leafer up there in the top 2. Then Aaron Elder gets herself into 3rd place with that run you just saw. Jeff Johnson, who had to fight his way out of the pit. I told you can get in the money just by clearing it. And Trey Gugino, I guarantee you when he comes back, he's going to show us something. Stay with us. More action to come from here at Lee County.
Hey, welcome to Wild Man Adventures. We're at the Silver Lake Sand Dragway. There really wasn't any off-roading back then. It was all off-road. We're on our way to Lima, Ohio. Ohio. Got wooden wheels.
Oh, it's slippery as all get out.
Hey, we're here with Rich Cummins. Hey, we're here with Mike Potter. Hey, we're here with Alan Pizzo. Gotta check it out. This week we're gonna go down memory lane.
The world-famous C60 Cyclops, the infamous Dodge Carryall Unnamed and Untamed. Get yourself a one-of-a-kind toy of a Mudbogger Trim Monster Truck at freedomracingnt.com.
This presentation is brought to you by Pioneer Pole Buildings. Looking for reliable strength on your next building project? You want a partner as tough as the task ahead. Pioneer Pole Buildings. Built for you, built to last for over 25 years.
Back with you here at Sanford, North Carolina in Daryl Jones's backyard. Big thanks to Deb and the family for their hospitality this weekend. Also thanks to Diana Snarsky and the others who made it possible for us to be down here this weekend. A lot of help to get the crew down here this weekend. Now as we get back with Jeff Johnson on the starting line to kick off Session 2, the Carolina Reaper. Jeff ran a 19.16 with a 6 in the first session. We'll see if he can improve his time here. Looks like we're only going to have 4 go in this final session. We had a lot of vehicles scratch out of Session 1. And he is just shoving material right now, not even remotely what he was looking for off the starting line. Not sure if something went away on him, if he's not getting the horsepower he wants. Only goes 48 feet. And it might look like less from this angle because we're at that 3/4 view, but that's not what he was looking for. So that 19 will remain. Now is Billy Stevens, who leads the pack here into Session 2 at a 596. Gets ready to take his shot at a much, much thicker pit. Well, I can tell you for sure he's not going to be as fast. It's going to be a 757 for Billy Stevens, and he got sideways coming out there. Again, this pit throwing these guys around a little bit. They did groom it in between sessions, and I mentioned what happens there is the thicker stuff sort of stays mounded up in the middle. It does even the pit out a bit, but what happens again is the softer, thinner slop gets buried down in the ruts, so it's not quite the consistency of the thicker stuff in the middle, so the truck will still find odd footing underneath. Now as Rich Lombardi comes back out in this awesome 401 cubic inch Barry Allen powered AMC Jeep. Renegade working through there, a 756. Not going to improve on his own time either. Again, the thick pit is just killing these guys right now as Lombardi, look at that, another one coming out of coming out of the hole sideways. Lombardi, beautiful show quality truck here, by the way, getting dirty and again flying into the third hole, but as he belly flops into that thick stuff, that slows him down as well, but that starting line launch really, really hurt his time. And our final competitor now rolling out here in Session 2, Trey Gagino, getting ready to leave the starting line. He's going to try to make up for a very disappointing Session 1 run where he buried the front end. Remember, he only went 208 feet in that first session. Landed on the front tires, and it looks like he's got something leaking out from underneath the truck. You can see there, checking on it there. Let's wait, see if he can still get the thumbs up to go for it. Yep, gives a thumbs up and a palms up. Says, hey, let's take our shot. We'll see. Here goes no problem 3. There's a Trey Gagino that we all know and love. 466 for no problem 3 right at the end of the night. Comes in, I told you he could dominate the class if he wanted to. Had a terrible Session 1 run I'm sure he'd like to forget about, but that's what video's for. Tragagino blasts through the pit in no problem 3 to wrap up the evening with the DOT class in fine fashion. So a pair of Wranglers rolling out of here, taking the DOT division championship this weekend. Of course, Weston Wiseman in our small tire division in Mudweiser. Tragagino, though, at 466 on top of the field above Billy Stevens, who ran the 596 in Session 1. Rich Lombardi with the 634 from Session 1. Aaron Elder and Jeff Johnson with his first time, his Session 1 run, hanging in the number 5 spot in spite of bogging down in Session 2. So, an awesome way to start the muddy action here this week, and we're not done here on Friday night. We have the Hot Street Pit coming at you next time. You won't want to miss that. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you then.
This Back Channel Productions presentation has been brought to you by Gemini Associates. Whether you live upstairs, downstairs, or anywhere in general, we are here to serve.